Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. This is a brief weekend market update for the week ending Friday, September 5th. We're going to start off here with a side-by-side of the industrials, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100. The Dow Industrials were down 144 points this last week, so really the last 2 weeks have been a little bit of a pause. The S&P 500 is sitting at a new closing all-time high on a weekly basis, up 21.24. Continues to trend, continues to push higher. And the NASDAQ 100 up 237 points, still continuing to be a little bit of a sideways type move in here the last 3 weeks. So we'll see what kind of push we get going out into the future. Let's go back to the home screen. I want to focus on the Dow Diamonds and the Russell 2000 ETF IWM. So on Friday, the Dow Diamonds were down 2.06. Thought we were going to get a little bit of a reversal type candle, but we just didn't quite get there, and it's still holding, still trending to the upside. Yeah, we've got some divergences short term. Lately it seems like a lot of these divergences don't seem to matter. They raise a flag, and then, the price just keeps pushing. So down $1.10 on a weekly basis. So we just showed you that with the Dow Industrials. So the Elliott wave count I've got here is that I'm looking for a fifth wave to finish off. So the real question is, how much further do we have to go here to complete this fifth wave? So when I look at the daily, I think we're getting close, but on the Dow Industrials or the Dow Diamonds, I think we may be there with the third minute wave. And so I'm counting it like this. Sharp wave 1 up, zigzag wave 2 back, and now I think we've got 5 waves in here for a third wave, and now I think that sets us up for a little more corrective pattern for a wave 4, and then another push to the upside to finish off the fifth minor wave. That's the way this looks right now. We'll see what we get. Now, let's take a look. Let's go back to the Dow, what I call the moving average view in here. And let's go to the Russell 2000. So let me just pull that up right here. So this was up $1.18 on Friday. A little bit of a doji type candle, just sitting up here, pushed higher, back and forth, closed right about where it opened, up $2.60 on the week. Now, I've been back and forth on the Russell. I was bearish, then it looked like it was bullish, then you're like, okay, So right now, I'm staying with the bullish count because you just have to give the benefit of the doubt to the bulls because this has really pushed quite far. Now, when I look at this, yeah, you could say, let me go to the bearish count. Here was the bearish view, looking at an intermediate wave 2. But this has already retraced like 87% of wave 1. If you say 2 versus 1, or 88.7%, greater than 88%. So we're probably over a 90% retracement. Now, I know from an Elliott wave standpoint, it's not really invalidated till you go beyond the beginning of wave 1, which you cannot do in an impulsive wave. So right now, this count's still valid. I just don't like the way it's looking and acting. So I am leaning into the bull count here. We haven't gotten much in terms of the corrective type of activity. And so here's how I'm counting it. I think we've had 1, 2, and we're working our way up in a third wave. It's unclear to me yet what do we have right here for a first wave. It could be a little bit of a leading diagonal type pattern. We're definitely getting some divergence in here on the daily counts. Okay, but this is the way I'm looking at it until it proves us otherwise. So that is where we sit with IWM. Continues to trend. The music continues to play. And the music seems to continue to play for the entire market. Now, I know that, the knives get out on various stocks depending on what happens, but, they get hit and then they come back. So right now, we're in a strong bull market. There is just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the music is, like I said, when I think about this market, I think about it as it's like we have a big game of musical chairs being played. When the music stops, you know, everybody's going to be rushing for the exit. But so far, the music keeps playing. So let's take a look at a couple of indicators in terms of where we're sitting as of the moment here after the end of the brief first week of September. Let's take a look at the VIX. Well, it started to erupt a little bit. Back in here at the end of August into the first trading day of September, and then it just cooled down Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This was Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and here we are back down 2 days below the 10-day moving average. We're sitting at 15.18 again, down in the 15s, down low, very, very low. So this is basically saying, hey, no stress. Everything's calm about the market. When you look at the McClellan oscillator, which I look at every day, it's basically been doing nothing but oscillating back and forth above the zero line. We're in what I call the neutral zone. We're sitting at about a plus 50 right now, okay? And so I look at this and say, well, the rubber band's not stretched. It's not stretched up here and, in the positive direction. It's not stretched down here in the negative direction. We're just sitting here dead neutral. Okay, so that's where we are with the McClellan oscillator. Now, a couple of things that a lot of people are talking about, and they've caught my eye, so I'm watching it. Bitcoin Treasury Companies. If you haven't heard about Bitcoin Treasury Companies, you will, but I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about them. The one, of course, that everybody has been talking about is MicroStrategy, now called Strategy. Still has the ticker symbol MSTR. Every time I see that ticker symbol, I think of the word monster. But it's for strategy, okay? So what does Strategy do? It was a software company. I guess it still is a software company, but the thing that they really do is buy Bitcoin. And they have bought hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. I can't remember how many they own. I think they did a $40 billion bet. Now, let me just show you what's going on a little bit. Recent price action. Here's a peak back here in November of 21. The high was $543. So the most recent high that happened in July was up here around 455. We're sitting right now at the close on Friday at 335.87. So it's pulled back about 25% in here. So the bet is on Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin does is going to dramatically affect the price of Strategy. Okay, so let's take a look at a weekly basis. So here's how it looks on a weekly. And if you want the bigger picture, this dashed line is the high from March of 2000. Okay, so here's the whole picture on Strategy. Here's where it was in March of 2000. At $333 is what it hit. The low went to 42 cents in 2002. That's correct, 42 cents. And to their credit, I mean, they got the company back, and it's up in here, got, back up into, $10 to $12, $14, and it's been slightly trending higher. And then they started buying Bitcoin in the 20s, 2020. Okay, we're probably right about here where you see this surging bar, right about August. So it's been about 5 years of buying and accumulating Bitcoin. And I don't believe that he sells any Bitcoin. So if you're interested, I watched this video, which was a really interesting video about Michael Saylor and what they're doing here with the company. It's about a 28-minute video, and it gives you, quite a bit of insight into what he's doing, why he's doing it, etc. So this is one of the Bitcoin strategy companies. Now, there's a lot of copycatters out there that are trying to mirror that, because what they're doing is they're taking revenue, they're taking money, assets, and buying Bitcoin to drive up the stock price of their company. Okay, So this is a longer term play. It's going to be really, really interesting to watch to see how the gyrations go. Another one that's going on is, and let me go back to the daily in here. Well, actually, no, the weekly is an interesting view. And let's just compare that to Bitmine Immersion Technologies. Now, this is a daily view. Let's compare the weekly view. Okay, so this particular entity objective is to accumulate Ethereum. Okay, that's its sole goal, is to accumulate and I think become the largest holder of Ethereum in the world. Okay, so that's solely what they're doing. This surge right here, that's when they announced that that's what they're doing. And let's just go to the daily. This was on June 30th of this year. They made that announcement. So you could see it was trending down here in the $4 to $5 range, and it exploded all the way to a high of $161. And now it's back down. It closed this last week at $42.04. So again, this is going to be another interesting one. I'm not saying Ethereum's going to collapse. I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to collapse. I have no idea. They may go to the moon, just like, both of these companies think that they are. It's going to be really interesting to watch. But right now, when I look at the price action in Bitmine, it doesn't look like the price is telling me that it's ready to go up. And so right now it's trending lower. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it comes down here and gets support again at 32. That's right about where it closed the very first day. The very first day of after that announcement, it closed where at 33.90. So say $34. Seemed to have gotten support back in here. So we'll see what happens. And then if it flips and turns, it may rocket. But and of course, I'm showing you this kind of range on an arithmetic scale. Let's take a look at it on a let me get it to show up on a log scale. Come on, there we go. Okay, so here's the log scale. So I try to use, and maybe hopefully I had that back on strategy. I did. Okay, I had the logarithmic scale on. So I really try to use, for longer term views of stocks, etc., and indices, logarithmic for the longer term to help keep everything in perspective on the price action. But when you get a scale that's greater than 3 to 1 on the scale that you're looking at in the current view, you definitely need to be using a logarithmic view to put it in perspective. Okay, so here's where we sit, which is kind of interesting because when you look at this and you say, well, let me just draw this little trend line right here. If this thing starts to flip, starts to get above the moving averages start to flip, break that trend line, this could be getting ready to go again. But that's the picture on Bitmine. It's one of the biggies. It's getting a lot of publicity. And of course, the real biggie is strategy. And but right now, short-term wise, I'm kind of cautious on Bitcoin. I'm still thinking it's going to continue to pull back some, and then begin another push. But I think there's more to go on the pullback. So we'll see. Okay, that's it for this weekend. If you felt like the video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit that little subscriber button. And if you'd like more information, head on over to joehenches.net. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next video.